Here's a good look at the foam that I applied yesterday. What happens as it dries, it puffs out and kind of spills out of the gap. So if you, like, say you put something flat against it, you can see how much rock we got. So that's about a ½ inch from the outside of the foam to the surface here. So what I've been doing is trimming it back with a hacksaw blade to get it flush so that the insulation will sit right up against that wood. So here's the side that I trimmed. So you can see when you put the hacksaw blade on there, it's flush with the wood. So that's the gap that we filled with the foam, and it provides a barrier so any of the wind won't come in. A real good example of this squeeze out, we follow up this king stud that's holding up our beam. You can see how much it's squeezed out. So it's really easy to take a hacksaw blade, put it against those two flat surfaces and saw towards the corner and get that piece of foam removed, so when the sheetrock goes in, it has some place to land without getting caught up on that foam. Now on the other side, it's not as extreme, but still needs to be trimmed. Also sprayed the top of the pink foam for the heating pipe cavity. Got those all sealed up. And if we look over this way, there's a whole wall to trim. Here are 3 bays that I've already trimmed the foam out of the gaps in the planks. Like, here's a real good example. There was a chunk of wood missing, and what I did was, I sprayed the foam in there, let it dry, and then you just cut it. Those scratch marks are from the hacksaw blade. So now this wood here is flush with the foam. So when you put the insulation, it's going to sit flat up against this wood and not be bulging out and having a missed insulation spot. So did that all the way up. So it's pretty good. You can see all the scratch marks. Once the foam's in there, the insulation, it's not going to matter. This bay over here on the right where the vent stack goes, I haven't done it yet. You can see how there's a noticeably larger quantity of foam. So those will be trimmed back. And in this bay, I made it to the bottom of the vent pipe where I started trimming it. So there's a before after. The one on the top has not been trimmed, and you see how it's bulging out, and the one on the bottom has been trimmed. So that'll just allow the insulation to sit flatter against the sheathing. So I'll show you how that works, and you can enjoy the view of me doing a bay. Here's a quick view of what all that trimmed material looks like. So it's all like just the little pieces that I sawed off. So we'll have quite a bit of that in here before too long. I started off with a razor blade. That seemed like a tedious way to go about it. Then I decided to try a hacksaw blade. That worked even better. Plus, because it's bendable, I keep my hands and knuckles away from any rough edges and prevent splinters and gashes and bloody knuckles and all that sort of thing. Later on, Steve came by and he handed me his hatchet. That worked even better. So it's just a matter of having the right tool to make the work go fast. And certainly between the combination of the hatchet and the hacksaw and the razor blade, I kind of naturally progressed to the best tool possible to make the most headway in the shortest amount of time. So that was pretty awesome. So the whole wall that I insulated with the expandable foam has been trimmed and vacuumed out, and there's a few spots here and there where I got to touch it up, but for the most part I'd say I'm 99% done with the trimming. While I was busy doing that, Steve came in and he was talking with me and Jane for a little while about the pendant lights that were going to be hanging above our peninsula. The discussion focused along the lines of, do we want 2 or 3. Those seem to be the most ideal numbers for pendants. We don't want to go with too many or go with not enough. Of course, it depends on the size of the pendants and the lighting pattern that it casts on that surface. The electrician just needs to know the number so we can space the wires accordingly, or put the wires there so we can hook them up. Also talked about granite surfaces versus composites for the countertop. Talked about that briefly. Between me, my wife Jane, and our contractor Steve, we had a brief discussion on the ease of installation for a one-piece shower unit, especially knowing that we have full access to get it in there. Between the screen porch, the French door opening, and the wall being removed, we could bring a unit in there no problem and just drop it in, hook up the plumbing, and we're done. So I'm going to do some research today and see if there's anything available that'll fit that space. It's a standard tub space, so the likelihood is I'll find something that's very good. We have a little extra depth because we had incorporated some extra space from a hutch we took out years ago and added it to that area. So rather than have a standard size tub, we can go out an extra like foot and a half to get a nice big shower space. So it'll be an oversized shower, but if we can get it in a one-piece unit, that's much more economical, with quicker way to go and less expensive. And Jane's on board with that. Steve was busy replanking the bathroom space in preparation for the plywood subfloor, which would prep that surface for a one-piece shower enclosure quite well. Tim should be coming through with the electrical quote, if not today or tomorrow, at least by Monday. He said he needed a couple days to do his calculations and get us a number, and he can literally start working on it on Monday if he's got a number and I tell him to go.